and welcome to an Well side-by-side video. This is a quick update video on a couple of projects I've got going on in the workshop at the moment. One is an MR2 project and one is the EV, which is over that side of the workshop. MR2 is over there. So we'll do the MR2 first. So I'm just going to flip the camera over now because I'm actually doing this on my iPhone because I did bring my GoPro with me and I forgot to bring an SD card in with me. So let me just flip over and I'll show you what I'm up to. Okay, camera flipped. If you remember, I've put hydraulic handbrake conversion in my MR2. Beethoven, what are you doing in the driver's seat? Who said you could drive my car? Come on, mate. Come on, go in your seat. Oh, you can't. You've pushed it forward. Okay, you stay there then, Beethoven. Let me squeeze around you. Sorry, Beethoven. There's the MR2's hydraulic handbrake conversion. Sitting, nestling and working. That is absolutely brilliant, and that got this MR2 through its MOT with a perfect handbrake. The handbrake was as good as the foot brakes, and it's still on the original handbrake lever, which has still got the ratchet on it. But it left me with a little problem. The centre console wouldn't fit over it. Okay, Beethoven. You sit there. That's where you want to sit, isn't it? You imagine you're driving my car, Beethoven. Just enjoy yourself. I'll leave you alone now. Go back to sleep. So, didn't realise Beethoven was in the car. The original console was flat here. And what I needed to do was create a hump. Where the master cylinder now fits into this space. So I could use as much of the original centre console as I possibly could. Because I wanted to keep the car looking relatively standard inside. So in here we've got, that is nothing more than a 4-litre milk bottle, which I chopped up and used as a template, excuse me, and fiberglassed in the correct place, which then gave me a shape here to start building up with fiberglass. And then I finished this off with flexible filler, which you use for repairing plastic bumpers. And to get the shape where I wanted it, I had to make another template to get the shape I wanted reasonably close. So that fits on there. And that gave me, when I started doing the filling, I'd put the filler on and then I'd squidge this about to get the shape rough. So that's all roughed out now. And that's been done for a couple of weeks. That was done before I took it in for the MOT. And I just quickly sprayed it black so it didn't stand out and it wasn't fiberglass coloured, because then they'd start looking. I didn't want it to look odd, because at the end of the day this car is a black interior and it's quite a dark car once you put the roof up, which is how I took it for the MOT. Nobody noticed that in that bleak dark cabin. Now I've been thinking about, how do I now create this as a soft armrest, which is what I wanted to do. I wanted somewhere to rest my elbow. And I've been milling it through my little head for quite a while now. What am I going to do and how am I going to do it? Well, I've got a friend who's an upholsterer and I went to see him and I took it with me and I showed him what I wanted to do. And he disappeared into his workshop and he came back with all this stuff. This is close cell foam. Quite nice quality, which he uses for doing his upholstery. Because he does interiors in cars and this is the stuff he uses. So he gave me a load of offcuts. Things like this, which, I can trim that down and glue it on with contact adhesive. And then this stuff is sandable and shapeable. And he's given me various densities and various thicknesses. And a couple of corner pieces and a couple of squares. Like this, to start making the padded section. So I've got that part of the project now ready to start. And then I was talking to my dad earlier on today, and I was talking to my dad about, because he asked me how I was getting on with the interior in the MR2, and I told him where I was up to. And my dad said, what are you going to cover it with? And I said to him, probably a piece of vinyl. Try and get the grain. This has got a grain on it. Get it as close as I possibly could. Get a material that would go over the padded foam once I've got it all shaped, which I could glue on and make look good. And he goes, give me a second, he says, and he disappears. And he comes back with a piece of leather. This is really nice, thick leather. And he goes, take that, go and have a look and see how that matches the grain on your plastics. And if I just put that there, you can see the grain on the leather is very close to the grain on the plastic. So that is where I'm going to run. And I'm going to make that as a cover to go over the sponge. And I'm going to stitch it with very thin fishing wire and make it like a really rough, coarse, hand-stitched leather. And I'm going to make it out multiple pieces. So I'll make a piece for the top, a piece for the side, a piece for the back, a piece for the front, come down here, glue it on, and then I think I'm going to make it look a little bit more motorsporty, and I'm going to use some rivets and washers just to keep it in place. And I think that'll look quite good. But that's the materials I've got, and that's the update on the MR2's interior. So that lot can stay there for now. That's MR2 update. Let's move on now to the EV I told you I was going to build. And I never videoed the build for a reason, because there's lots and lots of these builds on the internet, and all I'm doing is repeat builds on the same thing. I can put links in the video to other people that have built something similar to what I've built. Let me take you to the EV. And show you what I've actually built. Before I tell you, you have to remember I put some specifications on this build, which was lightweight, limited mileage, 50 miles an hour, single person vehicle for a bit of fun. And this is what I've built. This is my EV. And before anybody comes back and goes, that's just an e-bike, technically yes. But an e-bike in Britain, in the UK, is 36 volts, 250 watt, pedal assist, and they only do 15 miles an hour. This is not pedal assist. This is a 3 kilowatt, 3000 watt, 3-phase brushless hub motor, which is dual voltage. That motor will take 36 to 72 volts. And on 72 volts, that makes 110 Newton meters. That is a lot of torque. The controller, the inverter, that box on the top tube there, that is also dual voltage, 36 to 72 volts, to match the motor. And all the magic is controlled by the computer. That is programmable. You tell the computer what voltage you want to use. In my case, I'm using 52 volts. So I've got the computer programmed at 52 volts. And I've got 5 power levels in that computer, which are switchable on this toggle switch. And I've got anything from 250 watts on power level 1 to the full 3000 watts on power level number 5. And it's all programmable through there, which is why I've matched all the components to be multi-voltage. That is. Then came the task of building a 58 volt battery. Let me go and get the battery. And then there are the original cells I was going to use and decided not to. So let me just wander down the garage and grab what is a very, very heavy battery. That is a generic case that you can buy off the internet, empty. You just buy the base and the side, and then you buy a cage for the inside. And I'll put some photographs up of the kit I bought to build this battery. And I'll also put in the photos the cells I've used, and I'll show you what type of cell, because there are 70 cells in that battery to get the required voltage. And I've set them up in, I think it's a 14S5 configuration, which gives me my 58 volts, and it gives me 24 amp hour battery. Which is what I decided to go with. But I went 58 volts to give me an extra battery capacity rather than building a 52 volt pack, because I know that motor's capable of running higher voltage. That controller's capable of running with a higher voltage input, but that controls the voltage. So I'm only ever max going to pull 52 volts off that battery, but I've got a lot more capacity in it because of the way I've built it. I will do a more in-depth video on the build, and I'll go through the components in a lot more detail, but I just wanted to show you what I'd built, where I was up to, and just show you what the project ended up as. That, I'm afraid, as it stands there, can't be used on the road. That is illegal to put on the public highway because it makes too much power. 3,000 watts, 3 kilowatt volts. It's a lot of power in this machine. I've ridden it. I've done one or two test rides on it. I've ridden it in 250 watt and I've gone through every single power setting. Power setting number 5 is absolutely brutal, and that will do 50 miles an hour. Flat out. So you can see why I'm saying it's not an e-bike. That is now, if I wanted to use it on the road, classed as an e-motorbike. I would have to register it. I would have to insure it. I'd have to get a single vehicle test done on it because of the power and how fast it goes. And the other thing you're not allowed on e-bikes, if they're legal to use on the road, they must be pedal assist. This will just go on the throttle. You're sat there with the throttle closed, it doesn't move. The moment you twist the throttle, it moves on its own. So it's now a self-propelled motorbike. That's why it's not classified as an e-bike anymore. That's my foray into building an electric vehicle. I wanted to build something simple. To understand the principles of EV powertrains, and I'll show you why I wanted to do a small build before I start on my next build, because my next build is a little bit more ambitious. This is basically just get my head around the principles, figure out how it's all wired up, figure out how it all works, and just get some ideas how to build a battery pack and how they're put together, how they're wired up, and how they work, before I move on to building a proper e-motorbike. I'm not revealing this bike. All I'm going to tell you is it's a classic motorbike, and it's a 1979 motorcycle. And it's Japanese, and that is a one-owner bike. My dad bought that brand new, brand spanking new. It's got 24,000 miles on it. I've had that in my possession since 1985, and that's where it lives, under a shelf in the workshop. And it hasn't been on the road since 1986. That is tax exempt, MOT exempt. All I would have to do is insure it. That is my next EV project. And I will make it so it is reversible. That's an ambitious project. That's going to be the winter project. But for now, I'm going to carry on playing with this, playing with the computer, playing with settings, and refining what I've built until I've figured everything out on the electric drivetrain. Because of what I built, it's bonkers quick. Absolutely bonkers quick. I'll do a more in-depth video of it. But I am going to take a camera out into a forest trail, set the camera up on a tripod, set a camera up onto the computer on the handlebars, and just watch how fast it accelerates. But I'm going to do that next week, because I've got a busy 2 or 3 days coming up with work. But that's built. That's ongoing. So that's my little update on the projects that we've got in the workshop. Progress is being made. And I know I've not done an awful lot with the MR2 in the last few weeks, because that's been going on in the background. That's been going on in the background. And I didn't want to reveal that or where I was up to with that until I had enough content to put a video together and just do an update. Thank you very much for spending the last 20 minutes with me in the workshop and saying hello to Beethoven, of course. Cheeky bugger. Yep, cheeky Beethoven. I suppose if anybody tries to pinch the car, Beethoven will bite their arm off. I hope so anyhow. Anyway, thanks for watching the video. Thanks for coming along on the update of the 2 projects that are ongoing. Please consider liking, please consider subscribing. More videos to come on that. More videos to come on that. And then that in the winter. And there's more Ego videos coming out as well. They're all in the editing suite at the moment. I think there's 5 more Ego videos due out over the next 2 weeks. And whatever else I can find to make videos on and stuff I see whilst I'm out and about. Thanks very much for watching.